Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some massive news for the Penn State fans coming out of the recruiting trail as a fan favorite running back Alvin Henderson commits to Penn State. And this is a running back that we've talked a ton about over the last couple of weeks, often in the context of a target for the Auburn Tigers. Penn State goes down to the state of Alabama, lands one of the top kids in that state, brings him to Happy Valley. And you talk about fit in this Coach Kotelnicki system. I think Alvin Henderson fits like an absolute glove. And when you start talking about Alvin Henderson, what he brings to the table, you got to start with the pure production that he's had at the high school level. A kid that has carried the football over 530 times for over 7,200 yards, 132 rushing touchdowns at the high school level, all averaging 13 yards per carry. This is a workhorse back that I think fits this Penn State offense at an extremely high level. Want to get into the film, talk a little bit about what Alvin Henderson brings to the table. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. It has been a blast covering the recruiting trail over the last couple of months. The amount of support you guys have shown the fellas truly does mean a lot. If y'all do enjoy the content and enjoy the updates, consider subscribing to the channel. And for the new Penn State listeners, we are doing a Coach Kotelnicki offensive deep dive. Should be out within the next 48 hours, so check that one out as well. And without further ado, let's get into Alvin Henderson. And I'm going to start with the player comp. And I don't normally do player comps for kids coming from the high school ranks, but as a Michigan fan, I saw too much similarities to running back Blake Corum, where you look at Blake Corum coming out of high school, was a thick lower half guy that was a fast running back, but more quick than fast in terms of making people miss at the second level, really smooth, getting in and out of his cuts. That's what you see from Alvin Henderson. Now, you're going to see on the film the straight line speed, the breakaway speed is certainly there for Alvin Henderson, but my favorite attribute that Alvin Henderson brings to the table is a guy that, 5'9", 200 pounds. He is absolutely put together, but makes people miss with ease, very rarely gets tackled by that first defender. A lot of the same things that we talked about with Blake Corum coming out of high school as well, and a guy that just is a workhorse. He's very comfortable running the football, and we talk about this a lot in terms of the instincts and the vision at that running back position. A lot of these running backs coming out of high school have elite physical traits. That's how you get recruited to the Power 5 level as a running back. What separates a lot of top running backs is what do they do with the football in their hands? How comfortable are they seeing what's in front of them and kind of diagnosing and having that vision? Alvin Henderson, a guy that has over 530 carries at the high school level, probably going to be over 700 as he gets to Penn State, extremely comfortable as a ball carrier, seeing what's in front of him, hitting holes. That's probably one of my favorite attributes that Alvin Henderson brings to the table. And again, the fit in this Coach Kotelnicki offense, it makes so much sense. You look at Coach Kotelnicki, he is a genius at scheming up running backs to get in space in that rushing attack a lot of different ways, outside zone, between the tackles. Alvin Henderson on the film shows the ability to run in a lot of different styles. He can bang between the tackles. He can be a guy that operates in space. Really good fit for Penn State as well. And you get into the film of Alvin Henderson, I think the first thing that you see pretty clearly is just how comfortable he is seeing what's in front of him, finding open turf, and then just go hitting the hole. We said that he's quicker than he is fast. Don't get it twisted. Alvin Henderson has some straight line speed as well. The next rep you see, and you're going to see this a lot with this Coach Kotelnicki offense, where you're getting your running backs to the perimeter. Alvin Henderson, if you take a bad angle when he's working to the boundary, he is going to say, see you later, and take it to the house. But you see a lot of different ways he gets involved, a lot of wildcat carries. And you see a little bit between the tackles here where, the short area quicks, in terms of just making people miss in space at the second level. That's one of my favorite attributes that Alvin Henderson brings to the table. Again, between the tackles, knowing what's in front of him, making people miss, really good contact balance. Again, this is a guy that's 5'9", and you can say, oh, well, he's a little bit shorter. Maybe the long speed isn't quite there. When you're 5'9", your contact balance, your center of gravity is in a good spot. He's a guy that can operate as a pass catcher as well. You see him go up, play the football. Coach Kotelnicki wants to get his running backs a little bit involved in the passing attack. Alvin Henderson shows those chops as well. And again, when he's working to the boundary, the straight line speed, it's certainly there. I think this is a running back that can operate in so many different ways, can excel in so many different ways. That's what fires me up about this fit is, and Coach Koldenicki makes no mistake, he is going to get his running backs involved in a lot of different ways. You're going to see a lot of 2 running back sets. You got to have running backs that can operate in a lot of different ways. And I think that's exactly what Alvin Henderson brings to the table. I think he's best working to the boundary, which, again, Coach Koldenicki loves to do with his running backs. Really impressive. Again, we talk about Penn State. They clean up in the state of Pennsylvania, in that Northeast region. But to see them go to the state of Alabama, land a top SEC target at that running back spot, that's massive for this Penn State program. And you look at what they're doing in the 2025 class, quietly building a very strong class in 2025. And I want to take a look at the running back room first, where you have a guy in Keandre Barker, coming from Miami Central, more of that speedster running back. You have a guy in Hayes who's coming from the state of Pennsylvania, also an extremely productive running back, has run for over 3,700 yards during his high school career. Now you add Alvin Henderson. And I think at first you look at this and say, well, 3 running backs in one recruiting class, that seems to be a lot. But when you look at what Penn State wants to do, especially bringing in Coach Koldenicki, you want to get a lot of running backs involved. You're going to run the football a lot. You want to have a deep running back room. You want to have a talented running back room. You go back a couple of years ago when they took both Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. That seemed to work out for Penn State just fine. I think they're doing the exact same thing in this 2025 class. Now, I want to talk about one other thing as it pertains to Penn State on the recruiting trail, and that's the quarterback spot, where they bring in Bakeem Kritza, who's bounced around a lot at the high school level, a guy that has been in California, has been in Colorado, played half a season down in Florida. Really talented quarterback that I think is kind of lower in the rankings because you don't really know what he is, because he hasn't played a ton of football on Friday nights, but 6'5", 182, you turn on the film, extremely high upside quarterback. Wouldn't be surprised to see Penn State go after another quarterback that might be a little bit more proven. Now, you missed out on Matt Zollers, who I'll talk about real quick, is Malik Washington from the state of Maryland, one, a state that Penn State dominates on the recruiting trail. And then 2, Malik Washington, very similar to Bakeem Kritza, a ton of upside to his game. And when you see 2 guys that maybe you have some question marks about but have a ton of upside, I think that would make sense for Penn State to grab both of those quarterbacks and kind of see which one really hits their stride and kind of reaches that ceiling. Because if one of these 2 do, Bakeem Kritza, who's already committed, or Malik Washington, who's certainly a top target for Penn State, you could see Penn State have some really nice quarterback play. A guy like Malik Washington, I think, fits what Coach Koldenicki wants to do. He wants to get the quarterbacks involved in the rushing attack. Malik Washington, not only a phenomenal quarterback, the guy that's won back-to-back state titles, but a guy that's really good on the basketball court as well. Phenomenal athlete. We'll see how that plays out. We'll cover this team as they continue to build this 2025 class out. But Alvin Henderson, a massive commitment for this Penn State program. 3 running backs in this class. Coach Koldenicki wants to load up with talent at that spot. Fired up for this one. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. Again, if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.